So with this week's chapter of Fairy Tail, Tempesta gets one-shotted, Erza sets up for another ass-whipping chapter of her whipping the living shit out of Kyouka, and ultimately just more epic beatdowns from the good guys, making the bad guys run in fear. So I'm going to be fair about this one. Gray indeed did get a humongous power-up recently from his father. Ultimately, it wasn't him, working for it, but he did get a recent power-up, and that's the main reason why it is sort of legit for him to one-shot Tempesta. It just feels like I wish Tempesta would have a better shake. Ultimately, it's like from the moment he's been here, it's like first he had to blow himself up to beat Loxus, and the way he went out, I feel it should have been a rematch with him and Loxus, and then ultimately Loxus puts him down. So for him to get one-shotted by Gray, first of all, it's a one-shot, never too fond of that, and then ultimately it's kind of like Loxus never got to get his revenge. I guess Gray did it for him, so it's kind of like, my friend, I'll help my friend any day, and I guess it shows Gray's anger as well, but I was just kind of like, Tartarus, like, a one shot, not really feeling that. Although I do understand it for the most part. And then Sailor with her power, ultimately they never really needed Keith after we find out about this. She's not as good as Keith with, controlling people and whatnot, but they never really needed Keith like that because of her power. So we kind of see the chairman yet again with this motherfucker. I don't know, he's like the Obito of this manga. We see him getting ripped up, fucked up, stabbed up, and his body keeps coming back. Yeah, he's been dead for quite a while, and it's just a corpse at this particular point, but I think we need like some Dexter to come in here and chop this motherfucker up into bits so we can get him the fuck up out of here, because his chairman is like, no matter what happens, Keith dies, he dies, this motherfucker's still around. Like, get this piece of shit the fuck up out of here. And yet again, they're at a struggle for time with Face. Like, oh, it's about to activate again, which I feel we've gone through this process multiple times in this arc where Face is counting down. Oh, it's about to go down. And yeah, at the last second, something's going to happen, which leaves us with a setup at the end for Erza versus Kyouka. And I mean, from the fights they've had already in the past, Erza always whips down Kyouka for the most part. So I'm not really expecting much out of this. Like, I remember I used to be back in the days excited for the most part when an Erza fight would go down. But I already know for the most part, Erza's going to beat the living fuck out of Kyouka. Kyouka's going to get her ass kicked and probably stop Face. Because at this particular point, we've had Face be active so many times and getting ready to count down and finish up that just, end Face already. Ultimately, with this chapter, I feel like a lot of it was repeating things that we've seen before. This one shot with Gray, it makes sense because he did get his power up from Silver recently and getting the Devil Slayer magic, but it just felt really quick again for Tempesta. I mean, we just had this long fucking fight with Gajeel versus Torafusa, but Tempesta gets one-shotted easily, and it's like, couldn't Gray have just freezed everyone in the water and then, like, fucking beat the shit out of Torafusa or something? And yeah, to be honest with you, with this chapter, I just really wasn't feeling a lot of it. Too many one-shots, too much things with Face coming back yet again. It's like, we've had it multiple times, be shut down, and then come back. And then this fight with Erza and Kyouka, I'm hoping I'm pleasantly surprised, and I'm not saying that I want Erza to lose, but I'm hoping it's more than just Erza beating the living dog shit out of Kyouka. Because, I mean, even in the chapter Mita, where the fuck did Mita Jane come from? She just came out of nowhere for one quick rush, and then she's back on the ground. It was like, it just felt all over the place with this chapter, and I was like, I guess in a way that, yeah, Gray is powered the fuck up, so he's not going to be a weakling coming into later parts of this arc, and maybe he can have a big impact when, like, the final villains like End or Margear, really step up to the plate and whatnot. So in that aspect, good for Gray, but it's just like Tempesta thrown the fuck out the way. Torafusa, I mean, he kind of put up a fight, but Torafusa wasn't really a big deal either, and I expected a little bit more from Tartarus, so that's where I'm coming from with this. And seriously, somebody fucking get rid of that goddamn chairman already. I don't give a fuck. Take his arms, take his legs, just get rid of the goddamn guy. How many people are going to keep controlling this old bastard's body? So with all that being said, I give this one a 4 out of 10. There were some decent bits here or there. Again, Gray being more valuable as a player, and we did get a setup for Erza versus Kyouka, but I'm really having my expectations at a minimum with this fight, other than it being Erza beating the fuck out of Kyouka. Like, I want a little bit more substance than that. Let me know what you guys think, first of all, with Gray coming in and one-shotting Tempesta. Let me once again clarify, it's not that, he shouldn't have been able to do that because he has that power up. It just kind of felt lackluster and underwhelming, considering especially, I think a lot of us were hoping that Loxus would get his chance to get some vengeance or, just overall get a rematch with Tempesta after what Tempesta did to him in the end. And what do you think about this setup for Erza versus Kyouka once again? Do you think that Erza is just going to beat the living shit out of Kyouka and stop Face? How do you think that's all going to go down? I'm hoping Mark Gears already is finished with his fight with Sting and Rogue and comes in at the last second. And even if Kyouka falls, Mark Gear comes in and fucking, I don't know, shoots Erza through the leg or some shit. He's like, Face is not stopping, bitch. We're done when I say we're done. So yeah, 4 out of 10 for this one. But that's all I have for this review. Thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed. If you liked anything I had to say or enjoyed the video, drop me a like. I'd greatly appreciate it. And if you haven't subscribed, if you could do so as well, that would be awesome. I'm Finette World, and as always, people, have an awesome day. So with this week's chapter of Fairy Tail, Tempesta gets one-shotted. Erza sets up for another ass-whipping chapter of her whipping the living shit out of Kyouka, and ultimately just more epic beatdowns from the good guys, making the bad guys run in fear. So I'm going to be fair about this one. Gray indeed did get a humongous power-up recently from his father. Ultimately, it wasn't him, working for it, but he did get a recent power-up, and that's the main reason why it is sort of legit for him to one-shot Tempesta. It just feels like I wish Tempesta would have a better shake. Ultimately, it's like, from the moment he's been here, it's like, first he had to blow himself up to beat Loxus, and the way he went out, I feel it should have been a rematch with him and Loxus, and then ultimately Loxus puts him down. So for him to get one-shotted by Gray, first of all, it's a one-shot, never too fond of that, and then ultimately it's kind of like Loxus never got to get his revenge. I guess Gray did it for him, so